The youngest is 11.
We have oldest 16 and the youngest be 11 to 12.
Right. Okay, that is fine. So my name is Dr. Rotimi Alabi. I am the founder and chief executive of a company called Gradient Dynamics. Gradient Dynamics is a company that helps companies that are developing hardware products to bring those products to market quicker. We use a software platform to be able to do that. So all of the design of that hardware is and the simulation of it is done on our platform, and it's almost a virtual environment to build a physical product. And once you're able to build it well in the virtual domain, then you have confidence that it will work well in the physical domain. So when Seun spoke to me about this, he wanted me to talk about pitching, how to present your ideas. So I'm going to cover that topic very quickly. I'm not going to talk about my history as Seun alluded to, but I'm just going to talk about how you go about pitching, how you go about presenting your own ideas. So there are a number of things that you need to consider when you want to present your ideas. First, you want to consider who the audience is. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to your dad? Are you talking to a corporate entity? Are you talking to your friends? Depending on who you're speaking to, then you can frame your pitch to suit exactly how that person will receive it. So if you're speaking to your dad, for instance, you might be semi-formal. If you're speaking to your friends, you might be completely informal. If you're speaking to your teachers, you have to be completely formal. So understanding who you're speaking to ensures that you are positioning, framing exactly what you want to deliver in the right context for the message to land. Ultimately, when you present your ideas, when you pitch, you want the audience to be able to take home something and act on it. And that is why you present your ideas. So knowing who you're speaking to determines how you deliver your pitch. And I'm expecting that because you guys are pitching or presenting tomorrow, you will be doing this in a formal setting. So you want to consider what it looks like to present a formal pitch. Now, when you pitch, you also want to be able to understand for yourself, what do you want to achieve? And there are three layers to this. Do you want to just pass information? Do you want to inform who you're speaking to? Because there's maybe data or there's information that you have that they don't have, and you want to pass that information to them. Do you want to educate them? So are you in a position where you know more than they do, and you want to then share your knowledge and educate them? Or do you ultimately want to persuade them? Do you want to convince them to do something? Most presentations in a startup setting are presentations about persuasion. You want someone to do something. So you take that angle. But a good pitch usually should be able to have all three ingredients. You should be able to inform. You should be able to educate. So someone has to learn from what you are presenting, and you should be able to persuade them to take action. And then you want to look at the style of presenting. So you will know that there are many people that have different styles of presenting. Some people are much more, depending on their personality, they're much more quiet, calm. Some people are much more passionate. I wouldn't say aggressive, but passionate and out there. So everybody has their own style. But when in the context of presenting, you want a number of things to work with your style. And you always want to be able to tell a story. And you may think, how will I tell a story on something I just started working that was just a simple exercise? But you want to take a step back and think about the context of what you're doing. So if someone says, oh, we want you to solve a particular problem, you want to take a step back and understand, okay, why am I actually solving this problem? Who does this problem affect? And then you craft a story around it. So always when you present your ideas, always you try and frame it in a way as if you're telling a story. The reason why you do that is because people remember stories. I'm sure if your friend came to you and said, oh, last week, this is what happened. When we're growing up, we learned stories by Once Upon a Time. And you always remember that phrase, once upon a time, this happened. As you grow older, you can craft once upon a time into different formats. You want to talk to your friend about something and you say, last week. What does last week mean? That is once upon a time. Last week, this happened. So you start with a narrative. You start with telling a story, regardless of however you want to present whatever your message is. You craft it within a story. You also want to include evidence. And when I mean evidence, you're talking about maybe statistics, you're talking about quotes. Last week, I was speaking to this person. This person said this. That is a quote. You're quoting someone else, but you're already telling a narrative of what happened last week. Your audience is engaged. So, tomorrow's presentation, someone can start. This week, I was attending this event. And at this event, the organizers asked us to create this. And I thought about, why are we creating this? What value does this thing we're creating have? That you're already having the ingredients for telling a story that is memorable in the minds of your audience. And another way to actually also go about your style is appealing to emotion. And I'm sure many of you use this with your parents. You want to get something from your dad, sometimes you appeal to their emotion. You understand where their weak points are, and then you appeal to that. You also use that when you're giving presentation. So if you were talking about, many of you have seen these examples. You've seen Red Cross adverts, you've seen RSPCA adverts, and they talk about animals that are suffering. They're trying to appeal to your emotion, or talk about people that need blood, or talk about people suffering in Africa. They're trying to appeal to your emotion, telling a story about either an animal or a human being. So all of these ingredients forms the style in which you present your pitch. Now I'm going to wrap up with, what do you have to include in your presentation? First thing first, so we're talking about content here. So first thing first, you want to look at, what kind of message do you want to deliver? So you need to provide context. And what context means is, what is the problem you are trying to solve? Why should anybody care about it? Who does it affect? If you're doing a coding program, for instance, you're coding for something, you want to learn something, who does that affect? When you ultimately create an application, who does that application affect? Why should anybody care about what you're creating? Those kind of things you want to use to frame the problem. Then you want to talk about, okay, what is the solution? I have framed the problem. What is really the solution? What have you created that solves that problem that you have identified? How did you get to that solution? Now, you want to be able to explain clearly in very non-technical terms what the solution is and how you arrived at the solution. Remember, keeping things simple is key to clarity, is key to your audience understanding what it is you're trying to present. Because sometimes your audience might be a mix of different people with different backgrounds. So if you start talking about highly technical coding terms to your dad, for instance, that is a project manager in a different company, he wouldn't understand what you're saying. So language matters. Language matters well. You want to explain it to him in a way that he will understand. So using simple terms to describe what you have done is crucial. Then you also want to talk about the value of the solution so that someone will care about it. What is the value? Who gets the value? Who benefits from it? Can you quantify the benefit? So you want your dad to do something for you, and you say, okay, let's use this example. You want your dad to buy you a new bicycle. Who will the new bicycle benefit? Why will it benefit you? How does that benefit to you attribute to your dad? You want to think about it like that. So sometimes it might be, Dad, you're very, very busy. And if you buy me a new bicycle, it means I can spend more time outdoors and I don't have to harass you to play with me all the time. You are ascribing benefit of what you want to your dad to try and persuade him to get you a new bicycle. So you have to start thinking about it from who does that solution benefit? How do they get benefit from it? You want to also try and quantify it. It means that I can spend 1 hour outside riding with my friends, and that 1 hour you can be doing extra work at home, which you have been complaining about that you don't have time to do extra work when you get home. That's you quantifying the value of him buying you a new bicycle. The other thing is, you also want to start to consider, when you get to more professional settings, you want to start to consider competition. Is the solution you have created a unique solution and no one else is competing in that space? Your dad can turn around and say, right, I don't want to buy you a bicycle because I don't want you to be outside. I want you to be inside. So instantly being inside is competition for you. You need to consider, what argument do you have for not wanting to be inside? And that's how you start to frame competition. Then also, who else will that solution affect? Who else does the problem affect? Is it just your dad that you want to spend time with? Or is your mom included in that? If you stay inside the house, does that mean you have more arguments with your siblings? You want to start looking at the entire landscape in terms of presenting your own perspective. Then you also want to consider, who have you worked with to get that solution? Whatever solution that you have crafted, who else was involved? I see that you guys are already working in teams. So it means that you guys have group projects. So who else was part of the team? What experience do they have? What skill do they bring? By you telling your audience who has worked on the problem to create the solution, you start to get credibility. So you want to talk about backgrounds, you want to talk about why they are uniquely placed to create that solution. And finally, you always want to leave your audience with an ask. You need your audience to do something. They have to be able to do something at the end of your presentation. So you want to ask them to do something. Do you want them, if you guys, I'm sure you watch many LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, I said, many YouTube videos. Many of the YouTubers nowadays will say, like, share, subscribe. They are asking you to do something, however little it is. Like, share, or subscribe. If you have watched my video, you enjoy it, like, share, or subscribe. So when you make a presentation, always have an ask at the end of it. Let your audience do something after that presentation. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and you have a little framework on how to go about any presentation that you want to give. And this is something that you can carry throughout any setting. It's just a simple framework, a simple structure of how you think about presenting your point in any given environment. And thank you so much for listening. I saw many of you taking notes, so I hope that it has been beneficial to you guys. So I'm going to leave you guys with an ask, and that ask is, ask me questions.
Let's clap for Oku again because Oku kept to time. Yeah. So can you have? We're only going to take only 2 questions so that we're all of them. So who have any questions to ask Oku? Based on what you have learned so far. Oku, there's no doctor of maths this morning, so don't worry about that. So my friend,
when you said
please speak louder so I can hear.
When you said as you grow older, you can start to craft your once upon a time. Is that a quote?
No, you can take it as a quote, but it's just the thought process there. Your once upon a time changes depending on the context in which you're presenting. So I'll give you an example of an investor pitch that I gave some years back. And I started that investor pitch by telling the audience that were there, who were investors, that 6 months ago, I went into this shipping vessel and I met with this person. That is my once upon a time. That is how I started the pitch. So I didn't even introduce myself at that point. I just said 6 months ago, I went into this shipping vessel and I was speaking with this person. Immediately, that was the hook. It got the investors to listen. Okay, he's telling us about something that happened. So they sit up and listen to what you have to say because of the way I had started the presentation. So that was my own once upon a time. Because once upon a time, I went into a shipping vessel and I got some information. So that's an example. If you want to take it as a quote, that's fine. But it is just instructive to you guys to say you can, you have learned once upon a time. Once upon a time are stories that you probably will not forget. And because we are wired as human beings to reflect on that basis, it gives us nostalgia. You then can capture your audience by saying, 3 days ago, this is what happened. That is a version of once upon a time.
Thank you very much. So one last question. Anybody wants to ask? Anybody wants to ask? Okay. Did you have any question? We tagged the name of this bootcamp, Build the Future. So from your perspective, like a parting words, what do you feel Build the Future will mean for them?
So the future belongs to the young. The future belongs to you guys. And the world is changing so much that you have a say in how that future turns out. And in this bootcamp, you're already taking the best steps to direct that future, to orchestrate that future, to ensure that you have a say in that future by learning the skills that you're learning today. So going forward, always have at the back of your mind that the future belongs to you and you have to acquire the skills to ensure that you create the future that you want. So that ultimately you don't miss out on anything, and you create a future that you have engineered.
Wait, that's for you. So, sir, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anna. Thank you
All right, take care, guys, and all the best.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.